Hi, I'm Marius from MWS Photography, and welcome back to another episode of Digital Photography Today, the show where you will learn how to become the master of your camera. Now this week we are using Photoshop again, and we'll be using Photoshop Elements, and our mission is to learn how to properly resize an image. Now I'm sure in the past you've tried to email a few pictures to someone, and they were the images directly from the camera, like 5 megs, 7 megs, 8 megs, maybe even 10 megs. And you tried to send a few of them, and it took forever to send it, and maybe the person on the other side was not that impressed because their mail most probably didn't even come through properly because they were using an email client like Outlook, and they have to download the entire thing. If it was Gmail, then the person could just decide to save the image or not, but people usually prefer to see smaller images, and you can send a lot of them at the same time if you properly resize it. So if I drag in an image from my second screen, I took this at Signal Hill in Cape Town, and the size of this image is 8 megs. Now after I've saved it, it'll most probably be less than 200 kilobytes, or it might be 200 or 300, but it'll be very tiny. So I can actually send like 10 pictures and it'll be less than 3 megs. Now that's awesome. Okay, now very important, if you look here in the corner, I can see the entire image, but it's almost like it's been resized for my screen. I'm not viewing the image at full 100% because the pixel dimensions of this picture is larger than my screen. So I'm only looking at it at 26.21%. And the reason I'm stressing it, that you need to look at this, is when you click on OK, after you've resized it, it's going to be a lot less pixels, and the image won't be displayed at 100%, it will still be displayed at 26%. So sometimes people click on OK and then they see this really tiny picture and they think that's the new size. So that's why I'm telling you, always keep in mind that I'm not looking at the high res at full 100%, and you'll soon see exactly what I mean. Okay, so now the first thing we need to do is go to the image size tool so that we can input the new dimensions. Now to do that, the shortcut is Control Alt and I for image, Control Alt and I, and you're going to get a screen that looks like this. Now very important, sometimes this constraint proportions isn't ticked when you start to use elements, and then it looks like this. Those locks we just had there are now taken away. So very important, just enable the constraint proportions that you know when you input a new dimension, the other side, like for instance if I add a new width dimension, the height will also change. Otherwise your image will skew. Okay, now the first thing that we need to do is to change the resolution. Now I'm going to use a specific set of dimensions, but sometimes you'll find that maybe you've joined a photography club or you're entering a competition, or someone wants a picture resized for a projector. Now you've got a SD projector, a standard definition projector that displays the image at 1024 by 768, and then you've got your HD projector, which will be full HD. If it's full HD, it'll be 1920 by 1080. So if someone gives you those dimensions and they want that specific size, then this is also the tool where you'll be doing this. Now I'm just resizing so that we can have the image smaller to email to someone, to maybe use for Facebook. So I'm going to decide on a pixel dimension of maybe like 800 or 1000, and you'll soon see how we do that. But the first step we need to do is to change the resolution from 300 to 72. Now if your dimension, or not your dimension, resolution is already 72, you can skip this step. Otherwise, first step is to go to resample image, untick that box, because I don't want, when I'm changing the resolution, the width and the height to change as well. It will become less. I want to keep it the same. I only want to change the resolution. So I'm going to go to resolution, I'm going to make it 72, and then I'm going to click on resample image again, and now I've got access to the width and the height again. Now before I change my dimensions here at the top, I also want to make another adjustment right here in the bottom. You'll see resample image also shows you bicubic, best for smooth gradients. When you click on it, it drops down, and there's an option here called bicubic sharper, best for reduction. So that's the one you're going to take, bicubic sharper, best for reduction. And then the last step we need to do is to just input the width and the height. Okay, now we only need to do the one. Photoshop will do the other one for us. But a very important step here is to always look at the longest side of your image. Now if you look at this image, which is a landscape, you'll notice from there to there, that is the longest side. So the width, and you also notice the amount of pixels is also more than at the height. If this was a portrait type shape image, then our height would have been more than our width. So if you decide to use something like maybe 1,000 pixels, if it was a portrait, you would type in the new size under height, because height would have been more than width. But in the case of this image, the width is more than the height. So then I go to width here, and I just type in 1,000. And you'll notice the height changes automatically because I've got constrained proportions ticked. Okay, now once this is done, I just go to OK, click on it, and you'll notice we've got this really very tiny image. And that's why I stressed right at the beginning, do not freak out when you see this. Just look right here and just click on the plus until you see 100%, and this is what our image looks like. And this is the quality that people will see, and it looks great. And you don't even see the difference compared to the previous one. This one actually looks sharper because we're now seeing the entire image displayed at 100% and not at 26%. Okay, so now let's quickly put a border around this image and also add some text in there before we save it. Okay, now to add a border, if you go here to edit, you'll see there's an option called stroke outline selection, but you cannot click on it because this layer is locked. Now there are two ways of going past this problem. It will either be to double click on background, you do it like that, and you just click OK, and that background will now be called layer 0 or anything else you put in there. Or you can just create a new layer. Now a new layer is Control and J, J for Jane, and there we've got our new layer, and this one does not have a lock. Then you go here to edit, and there's also a duplicate layer of the image. You'll notice there it's both the same. Then I go to edit, and you'll notice stroke outline selection is now clickable. So when I click on it, you'll notice I've got a thing here called stroke, and it's also got a width here. Now if this was a high res image, then using 10 or 15 pixels would be fine, but a 15 pixel border on an image which is smaller, which is resized, it'll be very, very thick. I can show you if I click on OK, you'll notice it's a very thick border. Maybe that's what you want on this, then you can do it. But I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, so I'm going to press Control and Z, and it's going to undo the stroke. I'm going to go back to edit, stroke, and I'm going to make this, say, let's make it say 4 pixels. Now I want the color to be white, but I can also decide to change the color if I want to. So to do that, I just click on this color, and I've got this drop box which now allows me to choose the color. But here's a very cool trick you can do, and just take this circle out of this block, and you'll notice now I've got a color picker or an eyedropper tool. So if I click there, it's choosing that specific red. If I click on that yellow right there, I'm getting that yellow. So I can now decide on a color in the picture, and that's going to be the color for my background. I'm going to say cancel. I'm just going to use straight white, but you can do that if you want to. And you can choose a color. Okay, now very important is the location. Yours might be set to outside. Now the problem with that is the border will be outside the image. You're not going to see it. If you use center, you've got 2 pixels outside the image and then 2 pixels inside the image. Again, not what we want. We want a white border of 4 pixels on the inside. So I'm choosing inside, and then for the blending, I'm going to leave this normal and opacity 100%. Now when you drop this opacity, you actually make the border faded, and the original image goes through that as well. You can also play around with that. Just drop the opacity to like 50 or 40%, click OK, and you'll see exactly what I mean. But I want 100% border white. I'm going to click OK, and I've got my nice white border. And just look how well it finishes the image. Now let's also add some text in here. So I'm going to click here on the text tool, just put it right there. We can resize it later on. I just want to first add some wording in there. We can change the font here. We can also change the color of the text if we want to. I'm going to make it straight white. Now the first thing I want to do is I just want to put their copyright symbol and then my name. Now to do that, just hold down the Alt key and press on your numeric keypad 0169. So that's Alt 0169. And there I've got a copyright symbol. Then I'm going to type my name in here. You'll notice my font is pretty large. It's very easy to fix that. You just click on this edge here, and then, oh actually I forgot, I need to press Control and T as well. So when you press Control and T, it allows you, I'm just going to take this thing away, Control and T. Now T will basically open the free transform tool, and there you can see when I'm dragging it, it goes smaller or larger. So I'm just going to drag it, and I'm going to make it even smaller, and I'm going to put it right here in the corner, and there I've got my text. Now another thing I want to do is I also want to add in where I took this. I'm going to put this on the other side. Now I don't want to click on another text layer, because you'll notice when you type in text it creates a layer for you there. I don't want to just click here again, and I need to figure out, is it in line with this one? Very simple to fix this. Just click on Control and J like we did with this image right here, and you'll notice we've now got two of the same layers. Now I can click on the top layer and I can move it in this corner, but also hold down the Shift key, because when you hold down Shift, you'll notice even if I'm moving this pointer up and down, it stays in proportion. It doesn't run all over the screen. If I let go of the Shift, you'll notice it can go up and down. If I hold Shift back in again or just press it down, you'll notice my text is going straight. Then I'm going to just leave it right there. Click on Type again. Just highlight everything, or almost everything. There we go. Then I'm going to type in here Signal Hill, comma, Cape Town. And just hold down the Shift and just drag it again. Now I've got my name here, and I've also got where I took the image. Now I'm happy with this. Now I just need to save it. Now if you go to File here in the corner, you can go to File, Save As, never save, because if I click on Save, it's going to save it over my original image, and you don't want that. So always Save As. That is an option. But if you want to make it really small, and also if you want all your EXIF data to be taken out of the image. For instance, now if I properties this image, the original file, and I go to EXIF data, it's going to show me which camera I was using, my shutter, my aperture, all that information, date, time and everything. So if you want to remove that, then going to Save for Web makes the image smaller and also strips it of all all that EXIF data. So I'm going to go to Save for Web. Now I've already changed some settings in here, so yours might look a little bit different. This JPEG might be set to GIF. You do not want to save this as a GIF. GIF is for doing like animations for websites. It's not a format that people really use that much just for their pictures. So JPEG is the one you want. And then you've got an option here to choose the size, or not the size, the compression basically. So you've got like medium, high, very high, maximum. Now saving at maximum will give me a size of 536K. Now it's still a lot smaller than 8 megs, but it's overkill. You do not need to save it at such a high quality. So I'm rather going to go for maybe like high, which tells me it's going to be saved at a quality of 60. It's giving me a file size of 152 kilobytes. It's really small. I'm going to make it a little bit larger, maybe like 70. You'll notice it's still less than 200 kilobytes. It's really very nice. And then after you've done that, you're done. You don't need to really change anything here. So you just click on Save here, and it's going to ask you, where do you want to save this file? I'm just going to save it in the folder where it was. I'm just going to put an underscore and small there. And then when I click on the image on my second screen, I double click on it. This is the image that people will now get. So if you just look at that image, the quality is still perfectly fine, but when we properties it, and we look at the new file size, like you'll notice also here under details, you'll see there's no camera, make, model, nothing. It's just got my copyright and which program I was using specifically when editing it the first time. It's not showing me any other information. So under general, we can see it's below 200 kilobytes, which is really nice. If you want to have a border which got a color, like I said, you can change this white edge, which does not display on it when you show it like this, unless you go to full screen view. If you click here at the bottom and go to full screen view, you'll be able to see the white, but otherwise you don't see it. You can change it to any color you like. And that is how you resize an image, type on it, add a border, and also save it. If you've enjoyed this video, then please click that subscribe button and get all my awesome episodes as they come out. And then I'll see you next week for another episode of Digital Photography Today, the show where you will learn how to become the master of your camera. Bye.